Would you look at that? A new Bundesliga season. I can't wait to see what surprises it has in store for Florian Wirtz, and then in! Business as usual then. New season, new kits, new players, same Leverkusen. This is my actual reaction to witnessing Florian Wirtz score the winner in the opening match against Mönchengladbach. I know I'm not alone. The Black Magic is back. This is exactly what German football needed. I suspect that there's going to be a huge amount of interest in following the Bundesliga this season, and I'm here for it. In some ways, the real challenge for Xabi Alonso starts now. Does he have what it takes to prove to everyone that last season wasn't a one-hit wonder? Can the Leverkusen players maintain the levels of concentration that brought them so much success? And then on the other side of things, we have Bayern Munich, who were once the inevitable side themselves. Somehow, they are kind of the underdogs here. A former legend of the game, yet still a very inexperienced manager. A board that hasn't done a lot in convincing everyone that they've sorted themselves out. And, well, I mean, I don't need to say much more, do I? It's a new Bundesliga season. How good will it be? Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. In the pre-match press conference for Leverkusen's match against Mönchengladbach, Xabi Alonso said that Bayern are the clear favorites and that his side will be aiming for top 4. Quote, "That's realistic. We have a good squad." Oh, okay. Maybe if we were in a different timeline, I'd be more inclined to believe you, but you can't really go out and say things like that when the last time your team lost a domestic match was 2 seasons ago. You can't be saying things like that, buddy. It just doesn't fly anymore. It's very clear that this guy's been watching Pep Guardiola. Maybe I'm putting too much pressure and expectation on them, but after last season's showing, anything other than, at the very least, a second place finish, I would think would be a massive disappointment. And I'll tell you why. First off, he wasn't wrong. They do have a great squad. He was wrong about everything else though. Somehow Leverkusen have managed to keep the entirety of the spine of their title-winning squad intact. None of their most important players have left, and I can't think of the last time a team had such a great season, completely outperforming expectations and then keeping all of their best talent. To be fair, there haven't been many teams I can think of that up and went invincible out of the blue like this before. But seriously, Leicester won the league and then immediately lost N'Golo Kante, their most important player. Chelsea have used Brighton as their personal supermarket ever since they began performing. More recently, Bologna have lost Riccardo Calafiori and Joshua Zirkzee to Arsenal and Manchester United. Girona had an immaculate year last season, finishing 3rd in La Liga with a team of players that are all young and primed to have incredible careers. However, they've already lost La Liga's top scorer Artem Dovbyk, Savinho, and also Alex Garcia, who, coincidentally, signed for Leverkusen. What Leverkusen have done in retaining their talent and also bringing in new talent is unbelievable. And you know what? The reason for that is probably that there is reason to believe that there aren't very many better alternatives right now. Jonathan Tah looked like he was on his way out to Bayern Munich, but that deal is dragged on and on to the point where it looks like it actually won't go through. Feelings of broken promises by Bayern's negotiation team seem to be the reason behind that, but you know what? Who knows? Anything can happen. But in the meantime, he started the last match, he's still in training, Alonso claims he hasn't lost focus, so let's see. It's quite a surprising development if I'm being honest, as he is the longest serving player at the club at the moment. He's been there since 2015, he is 28 years old, but I guess maybe the clock is ticking in his head about, the last big contract that he can get. However, if things keep going for Leverkusen as they have been going, who's to say that that last big contract can't come from them? On to the actual matches. The Black Magic already on display here is sickening. Leverkusen had a great start to the German Super Cup against Stuttgart, scoring first. But in typical Leverkusen fashion, things didn't exactly go according to plan. At least what all of us would call according to plan, that is. By the 37th minute, they were down a man. By the 63rd minute, they were down a goal. Now, Stuttgart didn't stop attacking. They kind of kept going because they wanted to get that final conclusive 3rd goal. So for most teams, now would be the time to sit back, really hammer down on that defense and try and get something out the game. Most teams are not Bayer Leverkusen. To Leverkusen, this was actually their sign to start taking things seriously. After a set of immaculate penalties, Leverkusen kept their nerve and started the year as they finished the last. And then came the actual opener of the year in the league. Borussia Mönchengladbach away. I'm not gonna lie, I only tuned into this match from the 60th or 70th minutes. Leverkusen were already up about 2-1, but you always know that with these guys, something interesting could happen, so I wasn't really that stressed. But I do wish that I had tuned in a bit earlier, because with the first goal of the season, Granit Xhaka may have already won the Goal of the Season award. Just an insane hammer from outside the box. He doesn't celebrate because it's against his former team, but the self-restraint it must have taken to not celebrate that, it's insane. In any case, by the time the 90 minutes were up, despite being 2 up at one point, the game was level. Again, it came that time for them to start taking things seriously. 10 minutes of extra time added, and they decided to wait until the 10 minutes were up to win it. Florian Wirtz with a tap-in after missing a penalty. They really do like to make it hard for themselves, don't they? When he's not ranking potatoes, Wirtz always comes in clutch.
Ich würde sogar sagen auf die 1.
This man actually ranked plain potatoes #1. Honestly, I have no words. I'm gonna zip my lips because this could come back to bite me when I see him with the Ballon d'Or. Sometimes when I'm watching Leverkusen, it just reminds me of when I used to play Ultimate Team all the time. Late goals, pile drivers, scripting. It's really fun. It's really fun when it doesn't happen to you, which is why I quit. Something tells me this is going to be a long season. Despite Martin Terrier getting a red card in the Super Cup, he's a great purchase for them to bolster their attack. With all the games and the increase in intensity, with Champions League and everything like that, they're going to need it with everything coming their way. Alex Garcia fits in the same category. His running and contributions on either side, both in attack and defense, will be immeasurable, especially in attack. I didn't realize how much of a beast he was in distribution until I took a look at his overall stats. He sits in the high 80 and 90th percentiles for just about every passing metric you can think of. He's about to make Leverkusen even more potent in the build-up than they already are. Exactly what was needed for the team that already had the best goal difference by almost 20 last year. Bayern were a little bit shaky in their opening match. Their defense didn't exactly come out on top. Matthijs de Ligt, who may have been their best defender when fit, was allowed to leave to Manchester United, as was Mazraoui. In the meantime, they've only really brought in Hiroki Ito, who had a great year for Stuttgart, don't get me wrong. The man knows how to progress a ball, but luckily for Bayern, he's injured. And from what I can gather, it seems like he's injured indefinitely. I haven't been able to see when he's coming back. Now, Bayern do have a lot of goals in them, tons of goals. They'll score a lot, but if they keep defending like this, they're going to have a very tough time this season. They found themselves 2-1 down just after the break against Wolfsburg. Kim Min-jae, who's done this before, gifted the ball to Wolfsburg for Lovro Mayer to put in his second of the day. Harry Kane had a quiet day by his standards, but he was still working incredibly hard, and he provided the assist for the eventual winning goal. Him and Jamal Musiala are Bayern's best players in my eyes, and both showed why. The midfield seems to be in this perpetual state of instability. Wolfsburg just seem to be able to get in behind so frequently. I really think they deserve to take something away from that match. I'm not sure why Bayern didn't start or at the very least bring on João Paulinho, a new signing from Fulham and an actual defensive midfielder that's joined their ranks for the first time since Javi Martinez left in 2021. Bayern needed a proper screen on Sunday, and I suspect that that's why they brought Paulinho in the first place. But then again, it is still early days and we'll see how he integrates into the squad. Sasha Bowie was great at right back. He might have given away the pen, but he created their first goal. Michael Olise from Crystal Palace is a great signing. Everyone was after this guy for the longest time, but Bayern made it happen for 53 million euros. He'll be playing on that right-hand side, but does have experience playing as a 10 for Crystal Palace. Bold claim, but I think in the long run, over the course of the season, I can see him getting more minutes than Leroy Sané. He definitely has more of an end product than him. In my eyes, winning the Bundesliga would be quite an achievement for Bayern Munich, which is an odd thing to say, I know, but I think it's true. Vincent Kompany is now the manager, which has been met with, mixed reactions. This is the same man that led Burnley to relegation last season. He's been rewarded with a position at one of the greatest teams on the planet. But from Bayern's perspective, all jokes aside, this actually isn't that bad of a move. because he is a promising manager. Yes, he did get relegated with Burnley last season, but he's also the person that got them promoted in the first place by winning the championship and only losing 3 games over the course of that season. They tried and failed to acquire the services of a ton of different managers towards the end of last season, and Kompany seems to be the only one that bit. If things go upside down, they can always say that they took a gamble in an uncertain time and things didn't pay off, which, from an outside perspective, my perspective that is, that seems reasonable. Maybe as a Bayern fan, after experiencing a couple seasons of chaos, it isn't good enough. But I don't see too many other options for them. However, knowing Uli Hoeneß, I'm sure all of the Bayern secrets and the things that happen behind closed doors will be revealed over the course of the season. Time will tell. From Kompany's perspective, being so young in his managerial career, this move has very, very little downside. I'm fairly certain that he, more than anyone else, is painfully aware of his position at Bayern Munich. I'm sure he's very self-aware of what he's been brought in there to do, as well as everything that I just explained. I'm also pretty sure that he's not going to be as outspoken as his predecessor, Thomas Tuchel. Also, Bayern have a fantastic squad. They will score goals, they will win games, and they will compete up until the final stretch of the season. We've seen them succeed in spite of managerial friction in the past many times. And even if he does fail, he could just go back to a championship level team for a year or two and all of us will have forgotten and moved on. Plus, he would have learned from that experience. I didn't watch their games this weekend, so I can't really talk too much about Leipzig, Dortmund, Stuttgart, and how they performed or how they're looking to perform. I know Sergio Guirassy has gone over to Dortmund, which is obviously a big blow for Stuttgart, but they've invested well in Ermedin Demirovic, and he's already scored for them. Stuttgart lost 3-1. Though. Leipzig no longer have Dani Olmo, which on the face of things sounds pretty bad, right? Especially if you only really started watching him from the past Euros. But if you look a bit closer, you'll realize that he only really played half of their games last season. Also in just about every other season that he's been at Leipzig, so... And it's not just Guirassy. Dortmund have been very busy. Stuttgart had a great year, so obviously they were raided too. On theme for this video, right? They've also signed Valdemar Anton. Jan Kuoto was on loan at Girona, now he's at loan at Dortmund. Pascal Gross, Max Bayer. They've had some big losses, Marco Reus, Mats Hummels, Jadon Sancho, Ian Maatsen, Nicholas Füllkrug. A lot of losses, but you know what? I think they can do better. 5th place was not good enough for them last season, and they have what it takes. They have the squad to actually do better. Club legend Nuri Sahin was promoted from assistant coach to lead them, so let's see what he can cook. It's going to be a wild ride, that's for sure. Early predictions? I think I'll say Bayern will probably win the league and retain the title, but it's going to be one of those wins that isn't really celebrated like a win because of all the chaos that happens around the club. Just like 2 seasons ago when Oliver Kahn was fired just hours after they secured the title. Time will tell. And if I'm wrong, I'll just delete this part of the video. And there we have it. Let me know what you guys think about Bayern Munich, Bayern Leverkusen, Dortmund, all that good stuff. Just a quick reminder, the channel has partnered up with Olafly to deliver you affordable eSIM solutions and unlimited data. So if you want 5% off a top-up or a new SIM, click the link in the description. You can get that 5% off. That's all for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're having a great day. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.